everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser podcast. Another Monday night. We are back in action. All three of us back again. I'm your host, as always, Timuchin over here in Chicago. I have literally no idea what the weather is. That's how beautiful it is. I have not even opened the door, so that reminds me, Angie must have opened the door over and over again for the boys to go to the backyard or whatever, because, yeah, it looks cold. I can tell you that. But, hey, it's February. Got another month or so of the shits. And then we'll be complaining about spring rains and all that kind of stuff. Gally is in the house. What's happening?
Yeah, not too bad. The weather's good.
Good?
It's. I mean, we still have feet of snow.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Like, it's not as cold. That's the biggest thing. Like, if it's not cold, I can tolerate what's on the ground because I grew up here, and we used to get a lot of snow. And in the last few years, we haven't. Kelly said the other day, like, this is the first real snowstorm she remembers since she moved here 15 years ago, where we got more than like a foot and a half. But she's from an area, outside of Buffalo where they get a foot and a half 3 times a month for 3 months a year. So, like, to her, this is finally something bad, but like, it's still crazy. And there's still streets that are not cleared and cars that are still snowed in. I drive by them and I look and I'm like, that is not good for your vehicle. Like, you should not have 4 feet of snow up against a windshield ever.
That'd be me if I wasn't going anywhere, to be fair. It only got cleaned.
They want to go places. They just can't.
Yeah. Bigler is also in the house. What's happening?
Yeah, man, we got 6 to 12 inches of snow over the weekend, and it's below 30, which means that everything is shut down and the schools are canceled for the foreseeable future. So
basically, he is in hell.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how is that working out for you with the boys?
Yeah, it's really good time. I can't. Thankfully, they're with mom the majority of this weekend, but like it bleeds into my work life when they're out the extended period during the week. So, there's only so many days you can have 3 boys roughly in the same age group, like pinned in a house before things just start to come unglued at the seams in general, and usually starts with their mother and then like comes into my life. So, it's okay, man. I just, I dislike Southerners in general, and I dislike them more in snow. So I'm ready for this to like get over and get moving on into the next week.
Okay, a lot of people in the chat already, so everybody welcome over here. Football Flashback is in the house. Rare showing in the evening, to be honest with you. He's like, I mean, Ryan, Shelton, BJ, which we have trivia today, people. Scotty, Cersei, everybody welcome aboard. Football Flashback says, I love to hear what your goals are. Here's one of my goals. Getting people to hit thumbs up as they're watching. You have done it, but that's probably one thing that I want to improve, because we never ask, and we were actually
don't ask enough
this morning show about asking people to not only like it, but bigger reason is because we don't do the over the top yelling and screaming, to have you guys recommend the websites, the channel, the socials to other people, because that's the only way we're gonna get bigger. Go ahead, Gally. No, preferably with the mic on, but
share the website in different places. I tried to adjust it so it wouldn't be so awful for the listeners, and then I gave them nothing, which is probably everything they ever wanted. Not hearing me speak, but share it, like it, put it in your WhatsApp chats. Like, if you think there's people that that might be entertained, irritated, or frustrated by the things we talk about, enjoy it. Just get them in here, because we want more people in that chat. So thank you for all the people in the comments and everyone who contributes to this show going off the rails as quickly as it does, exactly 4.5 minutes in.
Yes, exactly. I mean, hey, we deserve 100,000. I don't know about 100,000, man. That's reaching over there. But
I mean, we do deserve it. But when we get there, we'll really deserve it. I mean,
mostly because we have to put up with each other,
Yeah, exactly.
I think so. Do people deserve it? I guess that's the bigger question. The 100,000 people deserve to be subjected to us. But yes, if you're watching, please do hit the thumbs up and help us spread the word. We are over like 1,555 or something like that last I looked. So yes, a lot of work goes in, so please spread the word as much as you can. And we have stayed positive, I think, through the down moments. I mean, at least I've tried to. I don't know. This is an escape, and I know when it's overly negative, and if your escape is negative, it doesn't turn out well. So at least it's good therapy. We make each other laugh, talk crap, and all that kind of stuff. But no, we do not have any tips for gambling addictions. Definitely at the wrong place asking for it, because we have some people who need it, I think. Right, Bickler?
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
correct.
Just ask Paul.
Okay,
Paul
today's
does
trivia.
his first ever private video.
First trivia of the year, I think. Maybe we did have it earlier. Okay, here we go. This is an easy one, actually. I think you guys are gonna name this. Which former player has scored the most Liverpool goals against Newcastle while they were a Liverpool player? I'll take Mo off the plate because he is number 2 with 10 goals against Newcastle in 19 appearances. So it's more than 10 for those following math out there. Bickler, let's go. I don't know what you're waiting on. You're just like milking it. So you're hoping like people ask questions. You're like watching the chats.
No, I'm just gonna go John Barnes. I don't know.
John Barnes. Okay.
It's not a terrible guess.
Yeah.
I was thinking around the same time. I was thinking like either Fowler or maybe Owens, but I'll say Fowler.
You dove the wrong way, dude. Dove the wrong way in the penalty, because it was Owens, actually, who ironically afterwards did go to Newcastle, but 14 goals in only 11 appearances.
Wow.
Actually against Newcastle. So there must be quite a few hat tricks and stuff like that in there. But yes, great to have BJ back in action over here sending us trivia. Welcome aboard. I do have I will get to it because I do have to pull it on the sideline. I do have like an announcement to make, and we will have a kind of like more information coming along as we go about something else, by the way, too. So I will get to that. But okay, let's start with the transfer stuff first. I think it was like a really good weekend overall. And then the transfer deadline, I know a lot of stuff bouncing around and all that. I don't know. I don't think none of us honestly, I didn't even expect this other move to be happening. I really thought nothing was going to happen. I was kind of excited where what is it? Gertruda rumors came out. I thought that was going to be a good accusation. In terms of like being the familiarity with Slot and stuff like that, I thought it would be a more smoother transition because this is the thing about January. Bickler, we'll start with you over here. Transfer window is closed. Nobody's happier than I am. I got to deal with it for another 4 days with Fenerbahce, mind you, that for the story. But what do you make of this transfer window? Everything you expected and then some.
Is it everything I expected? No. I thought we'd bring some sort of reinforcement for that back line. I think that's a huge gamble, and I think the gamble is like what happens if you don't make top 5 and you don't place champions, like you don't go into the Champions League and win it. You come away without a cup. I think it's a big risk.
I think we wanted, or did you expect it? I'm sorry. Like
I expected it and I wanted it.
Okay.
I expected it and I wanted it. Now, like we know this is a club that doesn't move off their plan A, right? And I actually am like getting to the point where I'm a little bit critical of that, because I think being a club that's principled, goes after the plan A and doesn't move off of it or doesn't get bent over the barrel is great, right? I think that's admirable. We've always been a big fan of that. I think the problem is when you don't have a plan B and you don't pivot to it and the squad can't support you not having one. Like, I think we all say like, oh, this is nice. Like, we're not going to go in for like, we have our targets and we're sticking to those targets. My thing is like, you can't tell me that we spend, we talk about players who we've scouted 5, 6, 7 years before they actually come to Liverpool. And you're going to tell me that we don't have a short stack of like 8 to 12 players that we couldn't have been inquiring about and been serious about. And maybe we were, but like, I believe that one of those deals could have come good. And I don't believe that deal should have been a 20-year-old. That's really a buy for the future, no matter how good he is. That's not going to happen. Like, we needed those reinforcements this window. I don't believe that if we're serious about this year, that we should be starting our best midfielder as a right back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm really torn on this one, man, because I do understand exactly what you're saying, because I do find that frustrating at times that there is no I'm sure there is, but it's not a plan that they like, the plan B or the plan C or whatever. It's not a plan they like. I'm sure it's there. They just don't like it. And I do understand. I think Matush was making the point this morning that, everybody knows you're in need, Gally, so they are going to charge you more, but overpaying slightly for that fee might pay for itself automatically by making the Champions League and stuff. So I do get that. But a part of me also says, because we have done this before, the hologram Ben Davies is like the most famous one we always talk about, the Ozan Kabak move and stuff like that. Like signing somebody just to have a body is not depth either. So if you didn't, like, I'd rather have that than bring, Mello in or somebody like that, because at least you know what you got.
I just ask, what defensive reinforcement left a top 7 club in all of Europe that we wanted at our club this month? And if you tell me the name, then I'll say they failed on going for plan B. But I didn't see one move. And they did sign a player today at a big contract who's not coming in either, by the way, to be and I know what Paul means. It's a long-term plan. It's a young player. He's coming in to either be Konate's partner for the next 5 years or his replacement. And it's a good signing. And by the way, they believed in him more than they believed in Mark Gahey, which is why they invested the $70 million in his wages and a fee that they wouldn't put into Gahey. And and I know I got into the mathematical argument in Discord today when Sir Z realized 48 million was really 108 million. When you do the math out by the real multiplications, like Gahey was $100 million signing. And I think by all accounts, world football believes this kid we signed is a bigger talent than Mark Gahey. He might not be better right now, but long-term he is. He is either a Konate replacement or an ultimately Van Dijk replacement eventually for 3-4 years from now. The kid has captained every youth level for the French international team. And I know that drives Paul crazy because he wants to hear nothing positive about the French. But let's be real. He came here because Konate told him this was the club to come to, and he wanted to play with Ekitike for years to come. Like,
I like this signing. I just want to go on record as saying that.
Okay. I'm saying
seconds. Got it.
It really is like he's a big time talent. He plays high in the air. Paul is big. And
hopefully he can play fullback next weekend.
Well, he might. He can't, but he's gonna not. He's gonna play for Rennes and center back. But if you look at the French league, like what he's doing there, what he's done in his short period of time, the fact that he has captained every level of the French international youth teams that he's played at shows he also shows some level of quality of leadership skills that they do cherish at this club. And I think he comes in, best case scenario, Konate resigns, and you have him, Konate, Leone, and Van Dijk. Worst case scenario, Konate moves on. You have him, Van Dijk. You still need to sign another center half with some veteran status, maybe a Van Heck or a different type player from around the league that knows the Premier League. This is a brilliant signing. They got him for over 140,000. If reports are true, he's on like 145, which means he's 160 grand less a week than Gahey. He's 4 inches taller. He's 6 years younger. He's not homegrown, but he doesn't have to be qualified as a over 21-year-old player. So you don't have to actually put him in to you don't have to worry about the homegrown numbers. So like it all works in my opinion. This was a brilliant signing. This was a steal, a coup.
Yeah, I mean, look, the price tag, we'll find out if it's a steal or not. It's so early to tell. He's a young kid too. The potential is definitely there. You'll see how he adjusts to the Premier League and all that kind of stuff. And I think the difference is people look at that price tag and then automatically do the stupids. but we couldn't give 20 million to Gahey. I think the issue over there is, I think if the fee for Gahey was 40 and we didn't want to give it, I can kind of understand the criticism there, but it was the wages and the balance of the wages and stuff like that that made that deal go south. If it's the 20 million that you're like kind of like going back to what I was saying, people charging you more because they know you want him, that's a different story, because I think that would be bad decision making, because you would make that in the Champions League and stuff. But it was different. It was the wages. It was going to mess up everything else, not to mention make it like a ridiculously more expensive signing. Like I say, I don't know a lot about this kid aside from like the captaincy thing you were talking about, Gally, like his leadership skills. I know he hasn't played a lot of games. He does seem to be like a physical specimen, and he's really young, so it's going to take him time. He's not going to come in and be Van Dijk right off the bat. Van Dijk himself was not Van Dijk right off the bat, so it's going to take some time. It is what it is. I mean, they did put a lot of money into it, so they must know something that we don't. And maybe I shouldn't say that, because there were a lot of teams interested in this guy. It's not like we found him and we're like, here, 70 million. So a lot of teams wanted this kid, and you're probably right. Maybe Konate, Ekitike are kind of like attractive things to bring another Frenchman over here into Bickler's delight. Let me play a little bit of devil's advocate, Bickler, since you were talking about the signings and stuff. How much of it do you think in some ways is psychologically? Would it be better, for example, to bring a body and say, like, you guys need another body over here to the team, as opposed to saying, like, you know what, we got what we need right here. We're doing, we got to do just what we got to do.
I mean, I think there's something to be said about that, bringing reinforcements in for sure. I just think you can't convince me that there's not a fullback out there that we couldn't have gone and purchased. And I think sometimes we are too focused on winning in transfers, like winning the transfer. Like we acquired a player who's to accumulate value that we can move on for extra, or is going to be a long-term player that we're going to get value out. I think sometimes you have to lose to win in the long run. And I think sometimes you got to buy a player for 30 million that you may sell in a year and a half for 15, but secured you a top 4 or 5 spot because you had that depth. You weren't playing your best midfielder as a right back, and you weren't handcuffed to a kid who can't give you 90 minutes and a new player who came in with a sterling injury record and has now been injured twice in a matter of months. I think at some point you have to the way out. Are we willing to lose 15 million on a player over a year and a half? Or are we going to take the calculated gamble? And if we miss a top 5 finish in cups, the windfall financially that occurs when that happens. And I think sometimes we're just way too focused on winning the transfer.
I guess. I mean, here's the thing, though. That's what I'm saying. Like spending, James is mentioning it too. I mean, we're spending some big money outbidding some people. I know not in wages, but like in the signing. I know with this Jacquet guy, kid, is it Jacquet?
Jacquet.
What is it?
Jacquet. Silent T.
Jacquet with a silent. Yes.
French dog.
Yes.
Jeremy.
Yes. Baguette. Okay. So. But here's my thing. So we did spend the money and everything on that. It's not a money thing. I think the reason he chose Liverpool more than the money was the fact that how Chelsea went about it, and he knew he would get an opportunity to play over here.
Project
buried behind everybody and stuff. So that one is fine. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Bickler, and I think, for example, a name that came to my mind, for example, was Dumfries when they asked about his availability. I don't know if it was a deal where if we paid an extra 10, 15 million to Inter Milan, mind you, he's hurt for another 2-3 weeks or whatever. But, like a move like that would have happened. I would have said, okay, with overpaying. I just think at the end of the day, they did not have one that's.
There's a fullback version of Endo out there, and you'll not convince me otherwise. And I'm not talking Endo now. I'm talking about Endo when we brought him in. There's that out there for us, and we just didn't do that for whatever reason. And I just fundamentally disagree with us not doing it.
We don't have the ability to sign one unless he's English, and I didn't see a single English fullback move this entire transfer window. We can't sign one if they're not English.
Well, there also aren't a whole lot of clubs that are as thin as we are at fullback.
But now. I don't disagree, Paul. But they can't sign players that aren't English. I had this argument with Maka, and this may take us off the rails, and maybe it's a conversation we have, or we can just jump off it. But I had this conversation with Maka in our Discord channel today, and anyone who knows is the Thursday night podcast hosts a lot of our Panel League shows. good guy, big Irishman.
And missing a rib right now.
Broken rib and pneumonia. Man is not doing well. But the truth of the matter is, he kept coming in like, we have to make deals. We have to make deals. There's only deals they can make. And part of the reason we're in this situation, and this was my whole argument.
Sell Endo then. Sell Endo.
No, no one has come. If you think Edwards and Hughes wouldn't sell Shamaka's buddy Endo for $5 on the dollar,
you're telling me there's not an MLS team that would take him. That wouldn't take him. There absolutely is.
I'm not sure with what.
No, this is a good shout just because of the
maybe
fan
somebody
base
would
and
take
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Right now, nobody in the MLS is buying a player from the Premier League because they're not playing, so they don't really care to buy players. They don't buy European players during this window. They buy them during the other one in the summer when they're getting ready for their season or in middle.
Great. Next year you won't have that excuse.
I think you can take Endo. Like, I know what you're saying,
It's
Gali.
not a
You can
knock
take
on Endo.
to the Greek league, to the Turkish league and stuff like that. And for real cheap, somebody will be all over it.
So you get rid
I
of
don't know if
Endo
Endo
off.
would. And Endo
It's
might
still-
even to get ready for the World Cup.
Oh, he would love it, but it only moves one position. It doesn't actually help the European squad because you can't unenlist a player from the European squad, only the Premier League squad. So, like, moving a non-homegrown talent doesn't help the European team. And the European team is the one that we actually have to compete.
Right,
And
you
I
got to
understand
finish top 5, Gally. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, we at least solve half the problem.
Did you watch the league this weekend when City drew to Spurs and Villa lost at home? Like, this league's wide open. Liverpool could still finish second in this league.
They
If
could also
they get
finish.
out-
Good, but
could
I think
also
like the
finish
point is
14th.
it would be a lot easier if you didn't have to play your midfield.
For a right back? No. I'm sorry, guys. This is where I will disagree. Doesn't get a lot easier if you get a right back. You know why? This manager is not going to play anyone he doesn't totally trust. So what he's going to play is Jones and Szoboszlai at right back. By the way, Frimpong might be in the frame to start against City. They said he's already training. So, like, I think we are overblowing this whole injury crisis. They need a defender. I believe they need a defender. They're going to play Konate and Virgil every match that matters. And Gomez will get a few starts. I just feel like we have seen that this manager, while he is still our manager, whether it's the end of the season or into next year, he does not play a deep squad. We've argued this, we've seen this, we've talked about this.
But we're not talking about a deep squad. I know what you're saying, Gally, and I don't want him to sign a body like a right back just because he's a right back, because he's going to be another Ramsey. Like, we're assuming that there were deals to be made out there if they overpaid. Like,
But
I'm
who
assuming
is
that's
it?
what we. I mean, we don't know. I mean, that's like I never understand that who question, because that's not what we do. But I'm sure the scouting team had names, kind of like what Bickler's saying, that they would go to. The only question there, I guess, I have is, are those people going to be ready to go into the Premier League right now?
Well,
like, which team is going to be willing to let him go to come to the Premier League and play?
That's why the Sunderland guy made all the sense, because he was already here physically at the level. But by the way, he's made 7 starts for Sunderland. 7. He came in from RB Leipzig. He was supposed to be a big signing. He made 7 starts for Sunderland, 6 of which he was on the bench for a kid who came up from the championship. I'm not knocking him. He's probably a good player, and he plays a lot of positions. He's very versatile, and we love those players, right? But, like, the guy played 7 starts for Sunderland. So it's not like he was a first team regular every week and he's kicking on to the next level. Like, the whole Gertrude thing feels to me like revisionist history of, we made a mistake not bringing in another player to play this position. We missed on Gahey, and everyone can't get over it.
I just felt like the familiarity would have helped.
Seems like it shouldn't have taken that much to convince Sunderland. You know what I mean? If he hasn't been playing.
They couldn't find a player to play, and they're trying to...
I think that's bullshit. I think that's what clubs say now. Like, that's what clubs say.
So you think they just wanted to keep the guy?
Where it became too complicated that we have to pay them to terminate the loan early. He's gonna. I honestly think us and Leipzig could not get this going in the first place. So, and I think that was like but here's the thing. I mean, I know what you're saying, but I feel like, I mean, right before the season ended over here, my side fence was falling apart. And that's how like my I see our defense right now. I put like I can jerry rig anything. So even with this wind and stuff, I put a couple of things over there. That's how I feel like our defense is right now. It's nice. It's been up there for the last 2-3 months with all these storms and wind and stuff. But once Bickler leans on it, it's gonna come collapsing. I feel like right now we're fine. I mean, Konata will play. He'll play. One other injury, like for not to have another injury in 4 months, is really rolling the dice. I'm not even counting Gomez to be healthy. I just worry that if we cannot afford one more thing right now, and because you're already playing a guy as like right back who should be in midfield, if something happens to Konate or Van Dijk, I mean, Van Dijk, if something happens to Van Dijk, you're screwed either way, regardless of how many center backs you have.
We all know
if
that,
something happens
right?
to Konate, I think you're in deep shits.
Sure, but why are we've rolled this the whole season? This is where we're at. Once Leone got hurt,
we were hoping to get to January 1st, right? At the time, we were like, because Gay will be coming in the door January 1st. When the Leone thing happens, I'm saying.
Right, but the Gahey thing went sideways when he ended up with $100 million plus move to Manchester City, and he's not worth that, by the way. Because he's not the most expensive. Do you guys realize that they spent more on Mark Gahey? Actually, I think it's 40% more overall, counting wages, agent fees, and the move and the fee than Liverpool played for Van Dijk.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody's, well, not anybody, but, anybody who knows math, unlike Cersei and multiplication, realizes the Gay ordeal was like ridiculous. But overall, like I said, that's why I'm torn. I understand why they do not make a move, and this is how they roll. But I understand what Bickler is saying too. This is this is my side fence over
gamble.
here. Yeah, it's up there right now, but it is about to collapse, waiting for spring. So let's hope nothing else happens. I mean, South Asian Scouts says we're one injury away from 3 of the back 4 being our midfields.
I completely understand that, but in the matches we've seen those guys play defense, they haven't been that bad. And I think we do over dramatize where we're conceding goals, in my opinion, because I think we're actually conceding more goals from poor pressing and defensive play from our attackers than we are actually from our back line. Like, I think our back line has gotten a bad rap all year long for how unbalanced this squad is, and we've talked about that. And I think a lot of that starts from the front, and we'll have to get to that later on and talking about the Newcastle match when we get there. But I just think that they were never going to overpay on a defender. And being like irritated that they didn't sign an on loan defender or a low level like right back option for a guy who's coming back in a week seems like it's completely the opposite of everything this club's done over the last 5 years.
Which I think we understand with Bickler, but we just don't.
Which we've also bitched about for the last 5 years. By the way,
I'm not disagreeing.
We had the same conversation with like when we were starting Hendo and Fabinho as center backs.
Yeah,
we had the same conversation.
But that season ended with a Champions League performance. The only season that didn't end up with us making it to the Champions League was when the manager basically.
It always works until it doesn't. You know what I mean?
It was one out of the last 10.
That's the thing. Like I say, we're hoping that nothing goes wrong because we can't afford to have one thing go wrong. We put ourselves in a situation where there is no margin of error because I can't sit here and count on Gomez is going to be back, Frimpong is going to be back just based on like recent history over here.
I also drove on an expired registration for like a year and a half until I got pulled over. So it's like, it's a matter of like, when
in that way it could have paid for itself. Maybe how about was the tickets? Let's do some Thursday math here.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you just got to eat it up front. You know what I'm
saying? Good question by Bill Klopp statue, by the way. Why didn't Ramsey leave on loan?
They won't let him go.
Yeah,
that's that needed depth. So we can. It's that needed depth. So we can have him on the bench and then move Soboslai right back.
He can play. He can play as a sub against Brighton.
Mateo says the injury option, the career mode has been turned off, so we're in good shape over here. That makes sense. And so he says that's why he's a PE teacher and not a math teacher. Meanwhile, kids are like, I did 10 laps, even though they only ran 2.
He was like, I multiplied that by the month.
No, coach, did you see me? That was like 10 laps.
He's probably got them convinced 4 laps around the track is actually a half mile, not a mile.
Okay, let's get to the weekend. Some of the good stuff. I mean, at this point, what's done is done. I share some of the same concerns, but I kind of like understand this is how it rolls and kind of like accepted it a lot more than Bickler has when it comes to the transfer thing. But I think we're all in agreement that the kid they did sign is a good business for like the long run over there. But let's get to the weekend, because first time in a long time, I actually thought throughout that was a pretty darn good performance overall, Bickler. And coming back from behind kind of like, is a plus. The Konate goal at the end, we were talking about this morning too. That's kind of like a Hollywood kind of stuff. And honestly, it shows a lot about this team and, all the rumors that are being made about like behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff and not playing for the manager and stuff, I think gets debunked every time this team comes back from behind.
Sure.
Oh, you're not buying that or what? What was that?
No, I
that
still
was
think-
pretty good.
I
Actually.
still think there's issues with it internally in the side. And I
In which
think
way? Name names.
I still think there are players that don't like playing for this manager in general.
I think you are absolutely pushing that to the forefront because of what you don't like watching on the pitch. I don't think there's actually any evidence outside of maybe McAllister, a player on this side that doesn't look like they're giving every instance for every moment on the pitch. Like,
so
when they're
do
on
we
the
think it's a
pitch.
coincidence that all the veteran old players under Klopp are the ones that are underperforming and don't look good or interested?
I think 2/3 of them are over the hill and past their prime, and I think 2 of them are on their way out of the club.
I was going to
And I
tell you
think
that,
it's-
like, how much of that is age and diminishing
Yeah.
returns now, and how much of it is like, how much of his ability?
I think if you're talking
capability?
about like Gakpo and Mo, then you're talking about diminished returns on what you're seeing. I think Virgil has been less than himself, but I think he's still there on a regular basis. The goalkeeper does not run the length of the pitch for anything except for love for the player who scores the goal. And I know he went through something similar recently with losing his father, but also like they've actually showed very much that they're in it for this club. And maybe it's not the manager. They still buy into the club and what they're all doing. And the fact that all the new players are playing as well as they are, I think is more an indictment, as I've said all year long, that we're not giving enough criticism to the senior players for not picking up their levels to the level of the new players who have figured out a way to play in this new style. And maybe they don't want to be part of it, and maybe they won't be part of it, or they know they're not part of it, like Robertson is. But ultimately, I don't think it's down to the players. I think this is down to just results on the pitch. And as we see them get more positive, we see more excitement out of the players and more, good things going forward.
Okay. Like, no,
Sure.
Listen, I'm not trying to be overly critical. I have certainly been critical of the veteran players throughout the majority of the season. I still don't know what this looks like when we're chasing a match and have to have it. Like, I haven't seen enough things change tactically. I just don't. There's a lot of things that I'm seeing that I still don't love. But what I did love about this week,
That Newcastle
I don't mean
match?
to cut you off, but when you say that, Bickler, I mean, that's just tactical stuff. That's not necessarily players not playing for the manager, right? I mean, that's why I'm trying to understand
right? That's
what
tactical
one has
stuff
to
for
do
the
with
most
the
part.
other.
Well, so there's two questions really. Tactically, yeah, I don't see enough adjustments when I think we need to in matches. And as far as players, like, I think the body language to me is disappointing in general across the board. I think this match, this is such a weird conversation because we just won 4-1. So I want to be positive. I thought it was a great result.
And 6-0 the week and 4 days before.
Yes, calm down. We got 10 goals in 2 games. It was great. I think like my thing is like that game tilted on individual brilliance of Ekitike, right? And like, to me, like those are the types of things that we need to win games right now. I want to see us win a match just based on how it's managed, which I think we saw under Jurgen Klopp at times, and I don't think we've seen under Ernst Slot. Like outside of that first season, I felt like when he came in and he played like a much more practical style of football, but we still had sort of the frontline press happening and things like where we were prioritizing winning the ball in the final third. Like I feel like that was like the apex of like the cross between the two sort of genres of football where we really kind of hit a sweet spot. I just think to me, it's still far too conservative at times. I thought what we did very, very good at Newcastle is they kind of sunk back into a 4-5-1. And I thought what we did is instead of playing through the middle of the park, I felt like we actually played out wide.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's where we started to open up a lot of that space. We hit counters, like, the counter, the second goal came off essentially it's just like a bomb from Kirkez, which by the way, phenomenal pass. I still want to see more. I think this is definitely good times and good things to build off of. And I think the more that Mo sort of takes a back seat and understands that his job is now to facilitate attacks instead of being the sort of apex predator that he's typically known to be up there, like, I think this will only get better. And like the chemistry that's building between Ekitike and Verts has been phenomenal to watch.
I mean, that's my thing. I don't know. I never understand that concept of like a moment of brilliance things, because isn't that always the case? That's why you sign quality, brilliant players, isn't it? I mean, you bring the guy in so that he can do something maybe like, somebody else can't. I mean, in the past, in the Klopp days, let's face it, everybody complained about midfield not being that creative and brilliant. They got the ball, they gave it to the front three. They were all brilliance. One of them would do the day. Last year, it was Mo's brilliance, like coming through and stuff. I mean, you do need these in any game because the margins are small, but that's why you spend 100 million, 120 million and stuff like that and get these guys. I mean, I guess the positives that I like is kind of like what Bickler said at the end over there is you start seeing some relationships forming, some triangles forming, some familiarity. I felt we were really good in the midfield and I guess that's what I was gonna ask you, that Gally, and we're not gonna find that out against City probably either. We're not gonna find out for another 2-3 weeks. But like, was that because Newcastle just kind of like played a bit more open? Because it does feel like we're finding spaces in between where we can get the ball from the back line to the middle of the pitch with a couple of triangles with like Gravenberg and like McAllister and Wirtz and stuff, a lot better than we did in the past, where we just gave it to Mo. We're like, ants, let's do something. And then
I think you're absolutely right. I think part of it is they didn't play the low block that most Premier League teams play against us. What we've seen in Europe, they played a little bit more of an expansive match. And let's be real, it also helped that they had to go on the road and do back-to-back road matches. Yes. They had to play in Paris and then at Anfield. That is basically like murderer's row. Like, you want no part of that, right? And then you get an Anfield that is up for it at 8:00 at night on a Saturday night, everybody liquored up, and Ekitike and Verts firing from the first minute. And I think Paul made a great point. I do want to like just mention how important, like, earlier in the season, Verts would have passed that ball. As soon as it came from Allison, Verts would have gave that ball to Verts, because Kirkez would have gave that ball to Verts because he was on the inside channel and it was like the easy pass. And he did it all year. And people were like, he just passes sideways. He looked up and was like, oh yeah, I can put this into space and he has a shot. And then he gets there and then the touch is just phenomenal. The finish is outstanding. And you're up 2-1 and you start to see like this was the left back they signed. Like one that is confident to make a big pass and create a goal for a goal scorer. And I love the fact that Isak was so excited after the second goal and was like clapping on Verts as he ran past him. And then like, and it wasn't like in a jealousy factor. Like I saw some people trying to be like, he's just worried he's never getting his spot back. I'm like, this is so ridiculous. Like, you guys forget that he literally was the most talented striker outside of Holland in the whole league for 3 straight years. Like, this is just a joke. We're now clowning our own guys to build up another guy. But like when Ekatike gets taken off and walks past the Newcastle supporters and they're talking shit to him, and he does the whole fucking throwing his tongue out at him and like just Homer Simpson, like just it just shows his personality. It shows he's up for it. He's up for the fight. He's up to be great. He's up to fight at Isak when the time is when it's the two of them, and maybe they'll be partners. Like there's something special happening there, and I don't want that to be overlooked on whether or not we question like where this team is at this moment, because we're scoring goals. Our two most influential signings of this year are starting to show their full form. I think Kirkes is quietly becoming like a fan favorite because of how hard he works, how hard he runs, everything he does. And then you look at the fact that you still haven't gotten the best out of Isak. And when we've seen Frimpong, we've been like, man, this is a talent, whether at right back, right wing, right midfield. Like they made smart signings. And I think Paul's point, maybe the older players aren't playing as well as they should be. But we saw good things from Gravenberch. We've seen some improvements from McAllister, though he still has space to go. Soboslai might be our best player, being forced to play it right back. I think this is really like a positive sign outside of the fact that the manager still doesn't trust the bench. But we know that. So we're just going to deal with it until either they give him a better bench or he's not the manager anymore. I know it sounds crazy, but that really is ultimately where we're at.
Bickler, I'll let you be Eeyore.
I mean, like the crazy thing about it is I don't disagree with a single thing that Gally said. Like I don't like, but we just, I think.
I think you're just trying not to get carried away. Is that where you're at?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe it's like an emotional damage control thing, right? Like I think like
Freud moment.
Yeah. I still I don't know, man. Like there are times when like this style of football from Arne Slot feels too safe to me. Like to me, I would like to see him sort of I feel like the thing that we loved about him was that he wasn't pedaled to the metal, Jurgen Klopp, and that it felt a little safer. And I feel like sometimes we've swung too far the other way. And I feel like sometimes it doesn't feel like he has the impetus on putting the foot on somebody's neck, right? And I think that's what I really want to see. I feel like when we're seeing it, we're giving the manager credit for it, but it's really just moments of individual brilliance that are turning games. And I don't want to take that away from the manager because I know that's part of it. Like he gets credit for when the results go the way, and when he doesn't, he definitely doesn't. Right. So like, I just want to see him manage wins. And I feel like sometimes we're just skating by on individual brilliance right now, whether it was Salah at points last year until the wheels came off, or whether it's Ekatike this year, who, by the way, is just, I mean, he's got more goal involvements than anybody except for Holland right now, which isn't just insane.
Right.
Like he's just I don't think people understand the level of football that kid's playing right now at 22 years old.
I think so. Cause I think maybe, and it does help. Honestly, in some ways, the Isak move probably did help him because there's somebody more expensive signed for his position, and he was almost became the afterthought. So probably psychologically for a young kid like that, it probably helps that, as opposed to being the guy, being the Sheshko or something like that up there. Like, hey, you're you're competing with these guys kind of a deal. And he's been great. I don't know. I think part of it is we started normal. And then when we were leaking goals like crazy, I don't even know this is coming from Slots. And I, like I say, there's no way of knowing, I guess. But I feel like at times we do play a little too slow. Like there are times where we're like, okay, let's go. Like, let's make that pass now, not take another 5 steps, then make it there and stuff. But I don't know, Gally. I feel like part of it is we kind of like swung the other way, like Bickler says, where we were like, you know what? Stop freaking conceding goals. Keep the goddamn ball. Don't take risks. I feel like over the last couple of weeks, it's almost like we kind of like turned the faucet off all the way. And now like he's kind of like slowly turning it, and it is starting to trickle. And you do see like the second goal where, Ali gives to Kirkes long ball. We go direct and we score. I think it's more than tactics, I think a part of it is more confidence of the team that's only going to come back with winning, as opposed to like Slot telling him to play slower. Like people think like Slot says play slow. I think it's more of a we don't want to counter, lose the ball, concede, and go back to square one.
I guess my question is, since November, have results turned the corner? Especially mid-December to November, like results have changed. We're winning more games. We're accumulating more points. We're doing better, whether we like it or not. And I think this is the problem. We thought we were going to walk this league again. Maybe win the Champions League as well and do the double. You know how Liverpool supporters are. We buy all these players in the summer. We're like, we're going to win the quadruple. And I just think it was an unrealistic expectation because no team's ever won the quadruple and like 6 teams ever have won a treble. So like we're still, whether we like it or not, and I know we're out of the league, but we're statistically still mathematically in the shout. We're in for 3 tournaments, one of which we qualified in the 3rd position of the best tournament you can be in, the European Championship. I think in some ways we've overdone this because we're underwhelmed with what we're seeing, which I get. But when you have this many changes and the major injuries we've had at times, and let's be real, we don't want to talk about it because we're actually being positive right now, but the negative is we saw on Saturday afternoon that we can't really rely on Mo Salah the way we did before. In the first half, when that ball goes through and he is one-on-one with no one, by the way. He was one-on-one with the byline and he lost and kicked the ball out for a goal kick. It was scary. It actually baffled me. When I saw it, I thought to myself, man, this isn't good. And I think that's what we don't want to talk about. Like, we're back to the point of asking, should he be starting or should he be an impact sub? Because if Frimpong was fit right now, I'd argue the best lineup still might be Szoboszlai at right back and Frimpong at right wing. Because right now, Mo Salah looks like a guy who can't give you 90 minutes and compete, to Paul's point, at the Premier League level.
Yeah, I think, that's what I was saying. The first half, especially, man, he was kind of rough. And
second half, he was a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think goes back to him being a bit more of a facilitator, but not the main person. I think in the past, we basically made him the point guard, if you will. The ball went to him one way or the other, and he was the one to create. I think we kind of have to, like, he's not as good 1v1 and stuff. When I was watching the first half, I was like, man, if Frimpong is on the right-hand side now, if we could kind of threaten them with more speed on that side, which, by the way, I thought Gakpo did a pretty darn good game. I don't understand the Gakpo hate, but
deserves a lot of credit. I thought he was really good, man.
We should probably talk about that style. But anyway, I mean, going back to I guess the question there, Bickler, is at the same time, though, you have a guy in the second half, you see that. And I know, like, he missed that, like, one-on-one as he was, like, going to the goal. I know what he was trying to do there with the outside of the foot. That's not want to hit it with the rights, sickness coming again. But he put some balls in the box, and he did the same thing midweek in the Champions League, too, that you can kind of tell that he can still create a lot. Is that enough to keep him on the pitch?
I think that has to do with how consistently he can do it and how open he is to changing his game completely.
Yeah.
You're talking about a player who's played for the last decade at the peak on pace and power.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have that anymore. So I think it's a big ask. I think he can do it. I think if he can do it, that's great. I think the problem that I have with you when you have Szoboszlai right back and him doing that is that you lose half of what makes Mo effective doing that, and you don't have a right overlap. So
he won't overlap him, which is weird.
Right. Are you talking about Szoboszlai won't?
Yeah, he won't. He just refuses.
I think that was by
because he
like,
likes to tuck in.
I think that's by design. I think
No,
the manager
I
doesn't
know
want
it's
him doing it.
tactical, but
Yeah.
like it doesn't make any sense. That is actually what you need.
But I
It
think
is-
that also creates somebody else running in front of, because if somebody is out wide that pushes a bit more inside, I think Mo kind of likes that where somebody runs along the box where he can roll it to him and then they can cross it. And whether that's, like somebody from the midfield making that run, Veers making that run, Ekitike making that run, like he can kind of see. I think he's still, it's weird, Bickler, because to me, he's a winger, striker, whatever, but his vision is very number 10 like. And I know there's no more number 10s in this game, but his vision is still like he sees stuff happening before it happens.
And I think goes back to the fact that I don't love when we play a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 anymore. And in fact, I think Mo actually benefits. Like if he was to ever play as an off the ball striker on a 4-2-2-2, I think he'd actually be great at that. Like we haven't seen it yet because he comes back and we go right back into a 4-2-3-1. But I think that's something that maybe you could potentially see. Maybe he does that with Ekitike until like Isak's back. I don't know. Like,
didn't we kind of do that in the Marseille match? He was a little 4-2-2, like they were a little bit 4-2-2, and that's what he liked about that match. And
the only issue with that is
but I'm still questioning it, like where Timuchin's about to go.
Yeah, that's very taxing. I mean, for a player his age, because now you have to do part of the press because you're not the out wide guy anymore. And I think, Mo can pick his moments as a winger where he stays out, takes the left back with him. And then, we can move the ball around, maybe go to diagonal to him. But that's totally different than being more central, Bickler, when you have to like make those runs all the time inside the box, outside the box and stuff.
I think, and this is where this is going to come down to it for me. I'm not convinced that he doesn't have the, I still think that he potentially has that endurance to make that, to do that pressing and to do that work through 90 minutes. I think what he's lost is I think he's lost that short burst that made that separation that made him such a threat over the top. And so I still think he can do a job there. I just don't know for how long, right? But I mean, realistically, we're looking at getting through a season and then we won't have to worry about it.
And I think so too. But I mean, maybe let's not go into the transfer talk back again.
Yeah.
But I mean,
No.
What he does on that side, though, I mean, that's the thing. The ball he creates for Szoboszlai earlier, that should be a better shot. And then he gives the same assist basically to Veer. Right. I think the fact that, that he can take that ball to the left and do something dangerous with it. I keep going back and, like I talked about it this morning too. You can see Burns saying, oh shit, he's going to take that shot and close him down, which is what makes Wirtz open in the center. Go ahead, guy.
I'm listen, I think the slating on Mo Salah that people are doing is probably over the top. I think the realistic questioning of Mo Salah's role in this side is not unfair by any Liverpool supporter. And I think we've done that for a while now on this show and on this channel. Like we've tried to ask what he is moving forward. And I think that's the biggest question. The problem is, and what we're seeing is, we saw it on Saturday afternoon. Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike at this point are the future. And NBC Sports let us know that Alexander Isak is the other guy that's like sitting on the fringes waiting to be part of the story. And I think that's where we have to be realistic about what to expect moving forward. I think you said it earlier, Tim. He has so much to offer from a creative force on the right-hand side and creating space. But if he's unwilling to use his right leg on a shot where it's time to like score a tapping goal with his right foot that he had a couple times against Newcastle, we have to question like where we are with him.
Yeah, but I think that's terribly unfair because that's the same. The Mo did the same thing 4 years ago.
But I'm fine with that.
6 years ago. I mean, the right foot is not going to come back suddenly.
But it's fine. It's fine if you're scoring 70% with your left foot. If you're not scoring with your left foot, you have to use your right foot when it's time to take a shot. And that's
Yeah,
where
I
I
mean,
do
yeah, I
question.
don't agree to
I
that.
know you'll say no, and that's what the player is, that's what he does. But now he's 33 years old, making $400,000 a week. And I can see Paul's face saying, like he has to adapt for what he's getting paid for this club and his role at this club.
Yeah, but he's not
And if
getting
it
paid to
is
shoot with his off weak foot. I mean, a guy struggling to score, the answer is, and Bickler can't talk about this, he's the striker. The answer is definitely not kicking him with your weaker foot. The answer is usually psychologically making sure it's a sure bet shot. And, he's never done that. So I think he is diminished like the burst and stuff like Bickler is saying, but I don't think like which foot he kicks with has not changed. If anything, a guy who struggles is going to the bread and butter as opposed to try something new, especially at his age.
I think his biggest problem right now is he's not prolific, and he feels like he's not prolific. And so that's what
Yeah.
strikers are like goalkeepers, man. You play how you feel. And I think like my main thing is like if he can get back into a role where he facilitates and he's combining for goals with Ekatike and Verts, all of a sudden he starts to feel real good about himself, even though he's not scoring. And that's a win-win for club and for him.
I think that's why like him scoring midweek was like very important to me. I thought that was going to be a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I do think, as he gets that kind of like the mojo back. I mean, I always go back to like he controls the ball now before he shoots. Whereas Mo, who was very confident,
it would just smash it.
Went in, he just like, even if the ball was coming to him bouncing, he would just put that in.
Took it.
He felt confident. And that's, strikers and goalies, man. I was talking about it this morning. They're totally different animals when it comes to like confidence. And, the potential is there. The skill set is there. He just has to understand what's more important to me is he has to understand that burst is gone and not try that and focus on the things we always talk about. Center backs, focus on what you can do and what you're good at, and give up the stuff that's is not working anymore. Of course, that's easier said than done, especially for somebody who's played at his freaking ridiculous level for that long over there. But before we go, real quick, a couple of things. I want to mention this before we kind of like touch up on the City game really, really fast over here. But I am putting the link over here in there. We will get, I will definitely get them on the broadcast as well. But they did contact us to kind of spread the word, and we want to do our best because, I mean, that's kind of like my biggest things is working with, like fundraisers and charity events and stuff like that. Basically, this is not a fundraiser. This is more about they do send someone to Anfield and they basically want nominees. Whether it's like a health issue, family issue, some kind of a reason of someone that you feel deserves to be able to do this and deserves to be able to go there. They have kind of put this together due to, and I do want to get the whole story, so we'll definitely get him on air one of these mornings to talk about it as well. They basically put it together for someone specific initially. But then afterwards, they wanted to carry on the tradition, after the loss of that person, they kind of wanted to keep on the tradition. So they do already have the fundraising. They do already have the funds. They want us to spread the word to get more and more people as like nominees, because they're hoping eventually maybe they'll send 2 people, they'll send 3 people and stuff like that for the Anfield experience. So I will get more information out to you guys soon, and I will definitely get them on air over here so they can kind of talk about the whole program and everything and how it came about and all that kind of stuff as well. But I wanted to throw that out there. So if somebody wants to kind of check out their website right now, they can. We'll kind of like get nominees. I have a couple of people in mind myself. I'm sure everybody does have somebody, they know somebody that, kind of deserves to. Might be financial, might be health, might be family, whatever the case might be over there. So I kind of wanted to get that out there. City. Is it good in a way? Real quick, early predictions. I think the squad is kind of going to be hard to predict this early, but does it help in a way? Obviously, it's at Anfield, that helps Gally, but it also is another team who's not going to play the low block. But
I think
it's semi-wounded City coming from that game.
I think it's a perfect opportunity to play City. Holland's playing poorly. He doesn't play well against us religiously. Like, he's struggled in matches against us, and that's where they score all their goals. This year, I think it's 60% he's involved, goals and assists in all goals in the Premier League. Semenyo is obviously a problem because he was really tough against us in the first match at home against Bournemouth. But I think the City matchup right now is actually when you want to get them, when they're struggling and when you're feeling pretty good about yourself. To Paul's point, scored 10 goals at home. They've get another home match. Like, when was the last time we had 3 matches in a row at Anfield that were all important? And I feel like when that happens, it's usually when Anfield shows you why it's important to have 3 matches at home. Like, I feel really good. I don't feel like you should be like 80% confident, but I feel like you should go into this match feeling really confident being at home.
And I think it helps City in terms of, I felt like there were several moments this match against Newcastle where the team was able to bring the crowd into it. Simon Hooper is a huge help, so kudos to him.
God,
but
he's
aside
awful.
from that, I think, there were like a lot of moments, some tackles. You were talking about Kerkez, for example. I think he's great for that. Konate had like a good one. And I think, like that Gakpo has that run that gets the crowd going. But in a City matchup, you won't even need that Bickler. So Anfield will be that much more valuable.
It sets up nicely for us. Everything right now is running through Shirky and Semenyo. Like Holland gets the goals and he gets the plaudits, but like those are the 2 danger men. And if we can defend wide,
his injury, by the way, didn't he come out injured? Shirky?
Yeah, he's off.
Is he done?
He may play in the match, but he was hurt off the match. And Paul's right though. The whole thing right now is working through random areas of the pitch. Like, those are 2 signings that Pep really didn't even know he would have. And like, it's not Bernardo Silva, it's not Foden, it's not like it's a different City team. And I think the back line is also questionable. Like, I think we're in a good spot right here to go at them.
That back line can get after. Like, you can get after it. Like, I mean, you used to sit Rodri in front of that back 4 and they would just coast. But I mean, you're talking about they're playing with Matthias Nunes, the player that we wanted in our midfield at one point as a fullback. And they're playing Ait Nori out of the Wolves camp previously, who I think he's kind of like Frimpong, where he's good going forward, but like you have questions of how he is defending, right? And I think, you've got Gehi, and then you've got essentially the Uzbekistan kid. Like, I think it's like it can be had for sure.
Yeah. And I think that's probably their weakness. If you can stop him, you are going to get goals on him. I think is the biggest thing. We'll end with this because Ryan says we're playing with house money against City this time. Not expected to win. Let me ask you that. I mean, let's finish with that. A score prediction, Gally, and would a draw be a bad result?
I love Ryan, who we met at the fucking petting zoo in Chicago, but I disagree completely. This is not house money. If you want to make top 4 and put yourself in the frame, you got to win this match at home against a really good team. You got to go out and play, at least get a result. And I think we are the favorite. We are the favorites of this match. I think we have the better attacking prowess right now. And I think we can go at them with the same 4 attack that we went at in the last match. And I think we'll do the job and we'll win 3-1.
Bikla.
Yeah, I've got narrower margins. I'll go 2-1.
Okay.
But I could see this being 2-1 and it not being as close as 2-1 sounds, if that makes sense.
I'll go with a 3-2. And it's one of those 3-1s that become a 3-2 so that I don't get comfortable at the end, last 5 minutes kind of a game is what I'm envisioning. But yeah, Steven says we'll scare the shit out of City's back 5. And yeah, I think, being home, for some reason, because this was home, originally when I was thinking about this game a couple of weeks ago, I thought it was away for some reason. But the fact that it's home is a huge plus. And I don't know. I partially agree with Ryan. I think if you walk away with this, depends on how the draw comes about, for example, I guess. But if you end up with a draw, whether it's not a great result, obviously, nobody's going to be happy about it. But I think it's important to keep the positive scores. And it's not a huge points loss when the points are against like City. is my thing. Anfield makes it different. Obviously, you want to get the 3 points at home, but I think the way it is, this team just needs confidence moving forward and positive results, and that's what I'm after. Go ahead, Gary.
If we beat City in this match, I genuinely believe we finish above them in the table. And if that happens, I don't think there's a single way we fall out of the Champions League spots.
No, I mean,
people don't realize
it's already automatic at this point. Pretty much, like the top 5 is going to go anyway. So you have to beat out like one of those teams to make it. I think if you beat this and then you have the Sunderland away, then at least on paper the schedule gets a bit easier with like West Ham and Wolves and stuff like that, where you can maybe rack up. But then again, last time I said this, we did not rack up those 3 points. It went south pretty fast. I think that was November or something
well,
like
we've
that.
done better than people talk about. That's the thing. Like, people go crazy about where we are on the table. We're still right within the shouting distance. I understand we're outside of the top 5 right now. We're right there. Chelsea are dropping points. United will hit. This bounce will drop for United. Like, they will have a few results that don't go their way. Like, I feel like we have every bit to chase down Villa. Liverpool should be shooting right now to finish second or third in this league if they can. That should be their goal, in my opinion.
A lot of optimism coming from Galaxy tonight. I like it. I'm okay with the top 4, by the way. Whatever, as long as we hit top 4, we're winning the Champions League, so I got that knocked out over that.
You do have that on record.
Yes, I've said that multiple times. I'm back in that story. We're definitely going to be doing it. But yes, let's hope next Monday. I will be out of action, birthday festivities. But we will still have like a 3-man panel over here. And tomorrow night, no panel show. So just a heads up on that one. But we will have the Rival Bros late night tomorrow night. I think it's about like 11 p.m. Central. So if you're out and about and up, still do join us then. Otherwise, I'll be back Wednesday morning with the gang and hopefully more information about the 4 steps thing I mentioned as well. Have a great week, everybody. And we'll see you guys soon. Take care.